All right, so I don't know if you guys have heard, but a couple weeks ago, Darren Dalton died. Now, I'm guessing most of you don't know who Darren Dalton is, but he is a famous Philadelphia baseball player. He was the captain of the team when they went to the World Series in 1993. He was 55 years old when he died a couple weeks ago, died of brain cancer. And he was very famous because he had it all. This guy was a star player. He was the captain of the team. He was good looking. I mean, he was like, he had everything, right? But what I remember about the guy that was really unusual and impressive is he wrote a book around 2004 or 5, somewhere in that area, titled If They Only Knew. If They Only Knew. And it's got a picture of him on the front of the cover of it in his baseball uniform. And the book has nothing to do with baseball. He writes that in the end of his playing days, he'd go to bat, and he was this left-handed batter. He'd get up there, and he says, I could feel I wasn't swinging the bat. I could feel that there was somebody there that was there with me that was swinging it with me. And he goes on about how that was the first of his experiences of realizing there was something more to life than what we just lived through, but that there was something, beyond this realm. And he starts having these experiences and talking about how connected we are with other realms, other beings, spirits, whatever you want to call them, entities. He's saying, look, we are so profoundly connected that you won't believe it. Now, of course, all his baseball friends thought he was going crazy. His baseball friends thought, what, we like Darren Dalton, the baseball player, and the guy who comes out and parties and drinks with us. We don't know what to do with this part of him, but for me, this was the real guy. He changed his life quite a bit in those years when he started realizing that there's something more than just playing baseball. And what religions ask a lot of people. Religions say, okay, we want you to believe in God. No, he doesn't come in a visible way. He doesn't knock on your door and say, hey, how are you doing? But they ask you to believe in God based on the evidence for God. The afterlife, something that we're asked to believe in, saying, look, you don't go to sleep at night and you don't wake up in the heavenly realms and walk around and feel it. But we ask you to believe in it because of the evidence for it, and that you're smart to prepare for this thing. Eventually we're all going to die. Even Norm one day will die. You don't believe it, but it's true. So it's going to happen, and so we've got to prepare for it. But one of the things that religions also try to teach us is that the angels are with us. You're not alone. And loneliness is one of the worst things we encounter in life. To go through life and thinking that you're alone, or that you're not any good at something, that you're isolated in some way, that people are just looking at you and laughing, that kind of a loneliness isn't good. It's bad for your health. It's bad for your physical health, your mental health. It's just no good. I got a list here of all the things that doctors say is wrong with loneliness, how it increases stress hormones, increases blood pressure, your sleep's no good, you don't get restorative sleep. It's a bad deal all across the board as to the things that loneliness does. Religion's trying to tell us, you're not alone. You're not alone. Not only is there just somebody standing there beside you, but you've got someone there standing there cheering you on. People know that I was not a great athlete in high school, but the one thing I could do is I could run fast, and I could run fast for a long time. I could do cross-country running. And I distinctly remember, end of one race, they had the race set up so at the end of the 5K, the last few hundred meters, you were kind of looping around the football field. And they staged this race so that the football game was playing. So when our runners came around, you'd have the school cheering you on. Yeah, go, 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 get these guys. And at the end of 5K, you're feeling pretty tired. But I distinctly remember, as they're cheering me on, suddenly I found more speed. Don't know where it came from, but having someone cheer you on, it felt good. And suddenly I was able to get a little more burst and get a few more places in the standings. This is what the angels are doing for you all the time. They're cheering you on. Yeah, you can do it. Come on, dig deep. You're almost there. Keep going. You can do it. This is what the angels are trying to get you to see and feel, that you're not alone, and that when you walk out into that world outside your door, there's somebody with you. There's somebody with you. The story we have for the kids today, I'm just going to read you a few verses out of the text. But just kind of get this idea here that they're not alone. 2 Kings 6, scroll down to verse 15, just do a few verses there. It says, when the servant of the man of God went out early the next morning, an army of horses and chariots had surrounded the city. "Oh no, my lord, what shall we do?" the servant asked. "Do not be afraid," the prophet answered. "Those who are with us are more than those who are with them." And Elisha prayed, "Open his eyes, Lord, so that he may see." And the Lord opened his servant's eyes, and he looked and saw the hills full of horses and chariots all around Elisha. That's what Darren Dalton's book was about. If Only They Knew was the title. If only they knew. This is what Elisha's doing. If only you guys knew, only you, the servant, knew that, look, there's way more for you than there is against you. I've got an army of angels here. Now, kind of the interesting thing about the army of angels is that there's plenty of teachings saying you actually don't even need an army of angels. That one angel is more powerful than thousands of the bad guys. All you need is one angel with you. And Swedenborg writes that everybody has at least two. So if you've got two angels with you, you are loaded. There's nothing that can overcome you, because they can overcome thousands upon thousands of the bad guys. They're with you, cheering you on. They're the ones that are ruling over the evil inclinations. The next reading is Secrets of Heaven in 1755. And the first sentence is the most important one here. It says, it's the angels who actually rule over evil and hellish spirits, as has been clear to me from much experience. The Lord, however, foresees and sees all things in every individual thing, and he provides and arranges the same, though some things arrive from his permission, some from his concession, and some from his consent, some from his good pleasure, and some from his will. The desire to control others is something altogether man's own, quite different from anything the angels receive from the Lord. Angels' entire exercise of control is grounded in love and mercy and devoid of any desire to dominate. So they rule over evil spirits, but they rule over them to the extent that you let them. That's the teaching. The Lord lets all sorts of things happen from his permission. He doesn't permit evil spirits to win the day, but sometimes we do. And so the Lord lets that happen. The angel's desire is to bend you. Just, come on, be a little bit better today than you were yesterday. Be a little kinder, a little less angry. Worry a little bit less. Be a little better today than you were yesterday. The angels aren't trying to control you. They're trying to free you from the armies that are surrounding you on the other side. They'll be with you every step of the way. As I was thinking about this theme of angels being with us, I was thinking about other stories in the Bible where angels appear. Christmas story is a famous one. You know, when things are all dark and things are all going wrong, who comes to announce it? Angels. Yeah, come to the shepherds. We had a story we did with the kids some time ago about Balaam and Balak, where the donkey is taking Balaam and the angel comes and tries to steer the donkey away. Don't go this way, Balaam. But the angel comes and guides him on his way. And then we have this one I want to read you from Genesis 21. It's a famous, probably a famous story, I think, about Hagar. And Hagar is a mistress. She's been disposed of by her master, and her son are being sent off into the wilderness. And this is what happens. When the water in the skin was gone, she put the boy under one of the bushes. Then she went off and sat down about a bow shot away, for she thought, I cannot watch the boy die. And as she sat there, she began to sob. God heard the boy crying, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven and said to her, What is the matter, Hagar? Do not be afraid. God has heard the boy crying there as he lies there. Lift the boy up, take him by the hand, for I will make him into a great nation. Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. So she went and filled the skin with water and gave the boy a drink. God was with the boy as he grew up. He lived in the desert and became an archer. And while he was living in the desert of Paran, his mother got a wife for him from Egypt. In the most desperate moment, just like some of the stories we've had of Elisha, she thinks the boy's going to die, she's going to die. We had it all until we got kicked out into the desert. We had it all. She's ready to die with her boy. And the angel comes. They're always with us. They're always hearing us. They're bending us to not be afraid, bending us to stand tall. The next reading is from Secrets of Heaven 59:92. And it talks about angels again. So it says, Especially do the angels call forth the goods and truths that are with a man, and set them in opposition to the evils and falsities which evil spirits excite. So, that notion, I should steal this, I could take this, I could get away with this. And the angels bend, and they say, that's not right. I'm not going to do that. That's not right. That's what the angels do. Thus the man is in the midst and does not perceive either the evil or good, and being in the midst, he is freedom to turn himself to either to one or to the other. By such means do angels from the Lord lead and protect man. And this every moment, and every moment of a moment. For if the angels were to intermit their care for a single moment, the man would be precipitated into evil, which he could never afterward be brought out. These things the angels do from the love they have from the Lord, for they perceive nothing more delightful and happy than to remove evils from a man and lead him to heaven. This is a joy to them. See the Gospel of Luke. Scarcely any man believes the Lord takes such care of a man, and this continually from the first thread of life to the last of it, and afterward to eternity. That's what I'm going for, to pound that into you. Scarcely anybody believes that the Lord takes such care of a man, that the angel is with you moment to moment. Every little point in your life, the angels are there with you. This continually from the first thread of the life to the last, and afterward to eternity. That's huge, right? This is big, to think that there is somebody who's with you, helping you, cheering you on, bending you the right way, telling you not to be afraid. You're not alone. I've got you. It may look like out in that world there's something bad happening, but let me tell you, I've got you right here, right now, and this is going to be okay. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. I'm going to finish here with a story. It's a long story, but I'd like to think that it's worth it. So this is one I found that was really kind of rounds out this whole miracle experience thing. The setup is that a little girl, 9 years old, has been diagnosed with brain cancer. A spinal cancer. And this is where we pick it up. It says, the father, who's a physician, says to the doctor, says, when do you think this tumor started growing? From the size, I'd estimate sometime early in the fall. Now this is the mother speaking. Early fall, I thought. Piecing together what I'd written in my journal since then, on October 5th, which is American fall, I saw Rachel, the little girl, sitting on the big porch swing that hung from a limb off the tree in our front yard. I'd seen her transfixed, looking up, her eyes wide and her mouth agape. I ran out to her, thinking she had a seizure or something. But by the time I got out there, she was smiling. "Mommy, I just saw an angel." It was incredulous enough to hear it the first time, but even more incredulous was that she made this announcement several more times over the next 3 months. Sometimes she said it was one angel, sometimes two, sometimes too many to count. One afternoon, Rachel and I were heading home in the car, driving across a busy bridge. I happened to check the rearview mirror, and I saw her looking out the window with the same expression. "Rachel, what are you looking at?" "Can't you see them?" "See what, sweetie?" "They're everywhere, all around us. Angels, Mommy." She described the angels as male beings with shining faces, wearing white robes with gold cords around their waists. "Not cords of cloth," she explained, "but real gold, Mommy, and their feet don't touch the ground." I was in awe of the angelic visitations and grateful for the peace she said they brought her. But it also troubled me. What was going on? Why, Rachel? Why now? Rachel had long had a heart for the Lord. At about 7 or 8 years of age, Rachel spent all her allowance to buy Bibles for her neighborhood friends. She sewed pillows, and she sold those to her father, and then donated the proceeds to an orphanage. But as the treatment was going, it turned into being radiation treatments. And before one radiation treatment on the morning of May 21st, I put my arms around her. And I said, "Remember that God is always with you. It doesn't matter that you haven't seen the angels for the last few months. God never leaves us. You know that, right?" Rachel nodded and prepared to endure another session. I prayed silently from my vantage point at the window, my eyes locked on her face as she got into position. The technicians set about their work, and I braced for the tears I knew I'd see. But this day, the tears didn't come. In fact, Rachel looked serene. When I went in to get her after the treatment, she leaned close to me. "The angel came back," she whispered. "He was there the whole time I was on the table, and this time he smiled at me. But then when you opened the door, he left. Mommy, he was so comforting." That evening, her cousin and inseparable best friend, Katie, spent the night at our house. The two of them were upstairs in Rachel's bedroom reading the Bible, and John and I had settled into the living room when suddenly Katie came flying down the stairs, trembling with fear. All she could blurt out was, "Rachel!" We raced up the stairs, dreading something terrible. When we got to her doorway, there Rachel was, transfixed like she'd been on the tree swing and in the car, wild-eyed, looking up, her mouth agape. Then our daughter turned towards us and began to cry. "Mommy and Daddy, the angel said my name. He'd said it like no one's ever said my name before." She tried to catch her breath between the sobs. I asked him to please thank God for sending his angels to me, and to tell God I love him, and to ask God if he would please heal me. She wiped her cheeks with her hands. And then she stammered, her words tumbling over each other. He said in a loud, clear voice, "The Lord is with you, Rachel." She began to weep hard, and by now all of us were crying. It was the only time Rachel reported that one of the angels had spoken to her. Katie told us that she hadn't seen the angel herself, but that she'd started trembling when she felt the presence in the room. Over the next 11 months, Rachel continued to see angels, often during the most difficult times in her treatment. "They are with me today," she would say, "and they make me feel so peaceful." On the night of June 16th, our family was gathered around the table playing board games. I could see Rachel was uncomfortable and suggested we move to the sofa to watch a movie together. When it was over, instead of the quick love yous before going to bed, Rachel purposefully took the time to address each of her siblings. "I love you, John Mark. I love you, Josh. I love you, David. I love you, Nathan. I love you, Lizzie." No one anticipated that this would be her last night with us. Soon after the kids went to bed, Rachel's pain intensified. Throughout the night, I stayed next to her, my hands on her body. Jesus, I whispered, please take away this pain. Give it to me, not to her. I didn't think Rachel was even aware, but suddenly I heard her speak. No, Jesus, don't give it to my mommy. Just take me to be with you. Those were her last words. Rachel's beloved angels had carried her safely to the arms of Jesus. In the early years following her death, my daughter's visions and faith gave me tremendous hope. But that didn't assuage my terrible grief. I didn't feel God's presence at all, the very presence I had assured Rachel she would never be without. I had hoped the angels were going to bring healing to her, and I was angry with God. I felt cheated. The Job passage was right. I could catch no glimpse of him. No angels had come to me in my time of need. A close friend gathered a few other women together, and they came over every Monday for about 2 years to check in on me, help out around the house, and make sure I got some fresh air. Eventually I acknowledged that they too were messengers of God's presence, and that God hadn't abandoned me at all. Slowly the crying jags became less frequent, and the pain inside where I was so broken began to heal. I could imagine that one day the last line of my Job passage might come to pass. When he tested me, I will come forth as gold. Another of my sustaining quotes was from Joni Eareckson Tada. God will permit what he hates to accomplish what he loves. Two of the things he loves most are bringing fruitfulness from our sorrows and going to great lengths to remind us that we are never, ever alone. Just like our Rachel knew all along. Amen.